There is a silent movement happening in the world, and few are aware of it. People who were once highly enthusiastic, communicative, and engaged in everything are now simply disappearing. No drama, no goodbyes, no posts saying, "I'm fed up with everything." They simply step away, choosing silence. What's fascinating is that this silence doesn't stem from sadness, but from clarity. If you feel the urge to distance yourself from the noise, and if you've recently lost interest in shallow conversations, soulless parties, and energy-draining environments, perhaps what's happening to you is not isolation, but an awakening. In the coming minutes, you'll understand why spiritually awakened individuals disappear from society, and more importantly, what this reveals about the deepest point in your inner journey. By the end of this video, you will see how this disappearance is actually a process of transformation and can become the most important step in your life. But before that, I want to ask you a sincere question. Have you noticed how everything around us seems louder? People shout their opinions, compete for attention, and display their perfect lives, yet they feel empty inside. Society has become a stage, and every individual plays a role they didn't always choose. But something is changing. A growing number of people are leaving the stage, removing their masks, and realizing the absurdity of it all. They are the awakened, and they are leaving silently. They aren't running from the world, they just can't participate in it the same way anymore. It's as if something inside them is saying, "I can no longer pretend." They try to adapt, but their bodies refuse. Conversations feel rehearsed, opinions repetitive, and routines hollow. Strangely, all this happens without warning, as if a veil suddenly dropped and what was once logical now seems unbearably fake. Have you ever felt that? Have you ever felt you no longer belong in certain places, with specific people, or in certain roles that once felt like you? If the answer is yes, take a deep breath. This is not a breakdown, it is a calling. You are invited to see what few dare to see, that most of what we call ordinary life is just a big collective dream, and waking up from it changes everything. The awakening doesn't start with light, but with discomfort. It begins when something inside you refuses to continue pretending.
You were
When you
born
realize that
remembering
what they
things
call
this
reality
world told you
is a
to
loop
forget.
of repetition.
That's
most
why
people
you
live
feel
trying
too
to look
much.
okay,
That's
but
why you
never
break
truly
in
are
silence.
okay. The
That's
laughter
why
is
you're
strained,
tired and
the
you
presence
don't know
distracted,
why.
and the love
The system
conditioned.
wasn't built for souls
Then
like
a
yours.
void appears, not
It
an
was
absence,
built to keep
but a
them
space.
asleep.
The space where
But
something
something
new
in
wants to
you
be
is
born.
waking.
You might be in
And
this
once
exact
it
spot
wakes,
now, feeling
it never
disconnected,
goes back
but
to
not
sleep.
knowing why.
The time to
This is where
remember
most
is
people
now.
get scared, because this disappearance from the world feels like the end, but it is the beginning. In the next few minutes, you'll understand what truly happens when the spirit awakens, and why so many choose silence over noise. But before we continue, tell me something. From what city or country are you watching me now? I'd love to know how far this message is reaching. It's like mapping this invisible movement of awakened souls around the world. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, do it now. Not only does it help the video reach more people who need to hear it, but in upcoming episodes, we'll dive deeper into this journey, and you'll discover how to navigate this process without losing your essence. Now, take a deep breath. Look around. Everything looks the same, but something has changed, hasn't it? Perhaps you too are disappearing, not from the world, but from an illusion. What comes after this disappearance can completely change the way you understand existence.
Awakening is not a magical event. It's a silent click, a moment when something inside you realizes you can't go on. The world, with all its rush and performance, has lost its taste. It's like waking up from a dream and for a moment not recognizing your room. Everything is in its place, but something is different. You feel it. Something in you has changed forever. Perhaps it started with a simple annoyance, a dinner where everyone was talking but no one was really listening, or that endless scrolling on social media where every smile looked emptier than the last. Maybe it was a conversation where you found yourself thinking, why am I pretending to care about this? These small, almost unnoticeable moments are the cracks in the wall of the dream. That's where the light begins to enter. When the veil falls, what once seemed normal begins to appear unreasonable. The things that occupied your days, social status, appearance, opinions, suddenly lose their meaning. You realize you spent half your life trying to fit into molds that were not made for your soul. This realization is not easy. It's like leaving a dark cinema and being hit by sunlight. It's painful, but it's real. The mind tries to resist. Am I wrong? Have I become strange? But deep down, you know it's not confusion, it's clarity. It is consciousness expanding beyond the walls of the ego. This new vision comes at a cost, because the more you see, the harder it is to participate in the game. Superficial conversations become exhausting, and the goals imposed by society seem ridiculous. The feeling of not belonging intensifies, like an inner echo that won't stop. Some call this a crisis, but it is the opposite. It's the beginning of a new life. You're not lost, you're just waking up. Awakening, despite its solitude, is the most real thing that can happen to a human being. In the end, when the dream is over, what remains is not fear, but truth. When one awakens, something profound begins to happen. The world around them doesn't change, but the way they look at it changes completely. Suddenly, what seemed normal before now looks fake. Conversations feel like stage scripts. Social gatherings become small performances, and you begin to wonder how many times you participated in this theater without realizing it.
At this stage, many feel divided, as if two versions coexist within the same body. One version still tries to go with the flow, to continue being as they always were. The other version can no longer tolerate the masks, the borrowed opinions, and the roles that life imposed. This internal split is the true beginning of the journey. Have you ever found yourself smiling during a conversation while something inside you was silently screaming? Have you ever been in an environment and felt like you were observing everything from the outside, like a stranger looking at their own reflection? This is not madness. It is the soul withdrawing from the persona it has played for too long. Then comes the hardest decision, to continue pretending or to disappear. Not a physical disappearance, but an energetic, emotional, and social withdrawal. Gradually, you start declining invitations, muting groups, and stepping away from discussions that always seem to be about the same nothing. Not because you feel superior, but because your energy can no longer sustain what is unreal. The body begins to respond, exhaustion in empty meetings, anxiety in noisy places, and discomfort in superficial conversations. What passed unnoticed before now feels heavy, as if the air has become too dense to breathe. But here's the paradox. When you withdraw, you feel guilty. Guilt for not wanting to participate, for saying no, for preferring silence over noise. The mind says, you are isolating yourself too much. But the heart replies, no, I am coming home. You finally understand that belonging is not the same as conforming. How many times have you felt that? That need to protect your inner peace, even without knowing why? Write a comment if you want about how many times you wished to step away from the noise for a while, just to hear yourself again. It is admirable that thousands of people around the world feel the same, and almost no one talks about it. This process is silent because it is intimate. It is the soul reshaping itself, remembering who it always was before adapting to the world's expectations. And when this memory comes, it doesn't ask for permission. It demands space. The truth is, awakening does not fit the logic of productivity or the standards of modern society. You begin to realize that it is unnatural to live in a state of burnout, trying to maintain an image. It is unnatural to measure value by results, followers, or achievements. When this clarity comes, it's like an internal detachment, because everything that once felt like life now feels like noise. This is why disappearance is inevitable, because continuing the game would be a betrayal of one's own conscience. Every conversation that requires you to hide what you truly think, every environment that asks you to diminish what you feel, every relationship that demands you play a role that no longer fits you. And there comes a moment when the body, mind, and soul simply say, enough.
But here lies the beauty of it all. The disappearance is not surrender. It is a new beginning in silence. It is the birth of a new form of existence, calmer, lighter, and more real. There are no applauses or shows, just the rediscovery of something the modern world forgot. The value of being whole, even in solitude. In this serenity, awakening stops being an idea and becomes a presence, a force that doesn't need to prove anything, only to be. There is a moment in awakening when silence stops being an escape and becomes a home. At first, it feels strange. The void is scary and the absence of noise feels like loneliness. But little by little, something begins to change. What was once discomfort turns into peace. It is the birth of true solitude, the one that doesn't hurt because it is inhabited by presence. Recent studies from Harvard University have shown that time spent in deep contemplation activates brain regions associated with emotional renewal and cognitive clarity. In other words, being alone by choice doesn't weaken us, it recharges us. It is the opposite of forced loneliness. It is the soul recovering its balance after years of being scattered by distractions and noise. Imagine a person who, after decades of seeking recognition, finally decides to stop. They turn off their mobile phone, close their social media accounts, and for the first time in a long time, listen to the sound of their own thoughts. In the first few days, they feel anxiety. The body is used to rushing. But then something calms down. They start noticing details that were previously overlooked: the wind, the smell of coffee, the texture of the hours. This pause is what the ancients called the inner cave. There, the true self reveals itself. Perhaps you too feel this need to step away, breathe, and listen to yourself without interruption. This is not weakness. It is a sign of spiritual maturity. It's as if, after a long period of adapting to the world, you finally started adapting to yourself. And there is something strange. The more connected you are to silence, the more you realize you were never alone. The void begins to fill with meaning. The answers you were looking for in others start to emerge from within you. And what once seemed like loneliness turns into a gentle, living presence that accompanies you in everything. This is the chrysalis stage, the part where the world forgets you and you finally find yourself. There comes a time when the disappearance ceases to be mysterious and acquires meaning. After all the silence, contemplation, and chosen solitude, something new emerges. Not a return to what it was before, but a different presence. It's as if you have returned to the world, but without belonging to it in the same way.
This is the state of internal conflict. You say you want abundance, but you feel fear of poverty. You say you want a healthy relationship, but you carry a feeling of unworthiness inside you. You think positive thoughts, but your body is stuck in negative past emotions. This dissonance creates a weak, scattered signal, like the light of a regular bulb spreading in all directions without focus. When you send a noisy signal, the quantum mirror reflects back a chaotic, confusing reality. Events seem random, results are unpredictable, and you feel out of control. This concept is not just spiritual philosophy, it is supported by advanced sciences like epigenetics. Scientists like Dr. Bruce Lipton have proven that our perceptions, beliefs, and emotions change the cellular environment, and this environment controls gene expression. This means you are not a victim of your genes. You can turn on genes that support health and abundance, or turn them off based on your inner state. Your perception of reality changes your biology, and your biology changes the signal you broadcast. This wisdom is not new. Ancient spiritual traditions have known it for thousands of years. The principle, as within, so without, is a cornerstone of many ancient philosophies. They understood that man is a microcosm of the universe, and the key to understanding the secrets of the universe lies in understanding the secrets of the self. When you achieve inner harmony, the external universe has no choice but to reflect that harmony. You don't change the world, you change yourself, and the world changes in response to you. So, how do we move from a state of dissonance to a state of harmony in our daily lives? What are the practical steps we can take to become conscious creators of our lives? The most important and most transformative step is not something you do, but a state of awareness you adopt, the practice of awareness without judgment. When most of us feel negative emotions like fear or anger, we do one of two things. Either we suppress them and pretend they don't exist, or we drown in them and completely identify with them. Both approaches keep us stuck. Suppression stores negative energy in the body, and identification reinforces the negative signal we broadcast. There is a third way, the path of the conscious observer. When a negative feeling arises, instead of resisting it or indulging in it, observe it. Notice it as if you are watching a cloud in the sky. Gently say to yourself, I am now aware of a feeling of anger within me. Notice where you feel it in your body. Is it a tightness in your chest or heat in your face? Observe it with curiosity, without judging it as good or bad. You are not this feeling, you are the awareness that observes the feeling. When you do this, something magical happens. As soon as you shine the light of your awareness on the feeling without resistance, it begins to dissipate. The trapped energy is released and dissolves. You are not fighting the darkness, you are turning on the light. This practice gradually restores your body to its natural state, to its original frequency, which is the frequency of love, peace, and tranquility. The goal is not to force yourself to feel positive. Artificial positivity creates more dissonance. The goal is to return to neutrality, to the 0 point, where you can consciously choose your inner state instead of being a reaction to external
circumstances. Practices like meditation, focusing on breathing, and spending time in nature are all powerful tools that help you train this muscle of awareness. I invite you today to a simple experiment. For the next 24 hours, commit to being the observer of your emotions. When an uncomfortable feeling appears, stop for a moment. Take a deep breath. Notice the feeling without judgment. Do not try to change it. Just be present with it, and then allow it to pass. Share with us in the comments what your experience was like and what you noticed. This small step is the beginning of the biggest transformation in your life. It is the moment you stop being a slave to your emotions and begin to be the master of your inner world. It is perfectly natural to face challenges when starting this practice. You might find yourself asking, why am I not seeing immediate results? Why am I still suffering? I've started observing my emotions, but my life hasn't changed overnight. Here we must understand the nature of the quantum field. It responds to your continuous and stable frequency, not to a fleeting thought or an intermittent practice. Imagine you are trying to tune a radio station. You have to find the correct frequency and hold the dial there to hear the music clearly. If you keep moving the dial back and forth, all you will hear is static. Every moment you spend in a state of coherence and harmony is a moment you fix the dial on the frequency of your new reality. Every moment you return to doubt, fear, or impatience, you move the dial away from the station. Doubt is one of the strongest anti-creation frequencies. Doubt is energy that tells the universe, I don't really believe this is possible. It broadcasts a contradictory signal that cancels out the signal you are trying to consciously send. When you plant a seed, you don't go every day and dig up the soil and prod it to see if it has grown. You water it, provide it with sunlight, and trust that the growth process is happening beneath the surface, hidden. Similarly, when you broadcast a new frequency, you must trust that the universe has received your signal and is reorganizing itself to match it. This process requires building what we can call energetic muscle. Just like going to the gym, you won't see results from one workout. You need continuity and practice. Every time you choose to return to a state of inner peace, instead of being swept away by external drama, you strengthen this muscle. Every time you notice a negative emotion and allow it to pass without possessing you, you are retraining your body and mind into a new state of being. Remember, you are not trying to control the results. The attempt to control stems from the ego, from fear. Your task is not to control how and when your new reality will appear. Your task is to maintain a state of inner harmony. Be responsible for your frequency and leave the details of its realization to the infinite intelligence of the universe. Faith here is not blind belief. It is a deep knowledge based on an understanding of these cosmic laws. It is the confidence that when you play your role, which is managing your inner world, the universe will surely play its role, which is reflecting this inner world in the form of your outer reality. Be patient with yourself. You are shedding years, perhaps decades of unconscious programming. Be gentle with yourself in this process. Every step, no matter how small, is a victory. We have completed a deep journey together. We began with the feeling that we are victims of our circumstances and ended with the realization that we are the powerful architects of our reality. Let us summarize the basic principles that will be your compass on this transformative journey. First, you are not a separate entity from the universe. You are an integral part of it. Your DNA is not just a biological code. It is a cosmic antenna, a bridge connecting your consciousness with the fabric of reality.